for Ayana, I actually don't know, and when I say I don't know, it's not my way of saying that she's, that Cisco just got out of the flip.
Yeah, I just tweeted that was a stupid thing they did.
It's good to see. I don't know what Tim Armstrong and AOL's business plan is. It certainly got them a lot of attention. And keep in mind, it was AOL, but not Tim, who bought Bebo, 3 years ago for $850 million and sold it for $5. But I think what Ariana's done in giving new writers an opportunity of access has been pretty amazing. And I suspect they'll do something good with it.
You mentioned the newspaper here. How long do you give the Chronicle paper to survive?
Sadly, not very long as a newspaper. I think we'll see it move to a digital form pretty soon.
Interesting. And also, lastly, what is it that the iPad 5 years ago was said to be a game changer, but frankly speaking, it hasn't performed that well from a standpoint of readership. A lot of, Wired, for example, hasn't done as well as they thought with their...
as far as sales, the iPad's been phenomenal.
Right.
So it's been a huge... The reason it has not dominated readership yet has been because of the enormous restrictions Apple places on publications. Until the last 6 weeks, most of you know this, you couldn't sell a subscription. It had to be single issues. They were forcing Time magazine to charge $4.99 an issue. At the same time, the Time was sending me and you offers in the mail that were set for issues they had to print and mail to us. 57 issues for $15, or one issue for $4.99, and then, as you said, they also were taking 30% of the subscription. So which is why so many publishers want to see Android really take off. If Time can give me 57 issues for $15 on the printed edition, I'll pay $30. So once you see deals like that, you're going to see readership go like crazy.
Anybody else have a question? I don't want to dominate.
Say, our work has shown with the Kindle that despite what people say, I love the smell of books, you forget that you're on a device within minutes because it's just like reading a book.
Are you aware of Migo?
A little bit, but not enough to talk on the record.
You said Facebook has got it's got 5 years.
5 years before it starts to decline. So, I said that about a month ago, and I got quoted, Facebook will be dead in 5 years. I said it will begin.
More interesting headline.
Yes.
How do you think it, with Facebook Connect and Facebook API now that more niche social networks are being developed from Facebook profile information?
I said I think it will fragment, and it may be fragmenting that comes from Facebook. There may be, so that I completely agree. I don't think we're ever going to see anything. That was nice of them. Ever see anything that's going to be 600-700 million people. Facebook may be 1 billion by the time it peaks.
Yeah, they said they'd do 1 billion this year.
In revenue, or
1 billion users. They said
I don't think that's pretty fast. I mean, it is growing. It's about 500. I don't think they can hit 1 billion, but we'll see. But in places like Brazil, where 2 years ago Google's social network Orkut was a way of life, Orkut's now disappearing slowly. So it's Facebook everywhere, except China, where it's not.
On the Facebook piece, do you see Facebook going away completely, or do you see it transforming? No. So as a community platform, it could disappear completely, but if they're reestablishing the fabric of the social graph online...
MySpace isn't dead. Most people still have their MySpace accounts. They just haven't gone to them in forever.
I use it for SEO, actually.
And
tweak it a certain way.
Of course, music still. So Facebook's not going to die and close shop, but it'll
reach its peak.
I think it will. Okay. They haven't. When we said that MySpace would lose its teenage users, News Corp fought back really. Not viciously, it was sort of fun, but they fought back very aggressively. I've been saying this for about a month now. Facebook, maybe they haven't paid attention, maybe they don't care, maybe they think I'm an idiot, but Facebook I haven't heard anything from.
Too busy.
And I was going to say, frankly, when you're growing like that, who cares what I say?
The Facebook valuation at 50 billion, is that too much, or you think?
You're out of my expertise. But it certainly feels like a lot of money.
Oh, you might like this. He's the perfect keynote speaker. If AdTech had nothing else, his speech made this conference worthwhile. They're getting this.
That's really nice. I heard Guy Kawasaki. I thought he was great, but that's really nice of you. I love doing this stuff. There's never been a more exciting time in the history of the world to be alive. I think all this change, while terrifying, is invigorating.
Where do you see in 10 years? Where are we going to get our news 10 years? Sorry, I'm exhausted. Where are we going to get our news 10 years from now?
The good news is teenagers who aren't reading papers more interested in news than any teenage generation in the last 70 years. Yeah. They've figured out what happens halfway around the world will change their lives. We're going to digital, and we don't have any evidence to say that digital's going away.
When you say teenager, I have to ask you because a friend of mine at Global Business Network came up with a concept decades ago called the global teenager. So you're talking about global teenagers, not just American teenagers.
No,
right?
Our work is global, and I was trying, except in a few instances, almost everything I said today was global. So yes, teenagers around the world know that what happens halfway around the world changes their lives. Absolutely.
I think we're going to see more disruption in the Middle East and other countries with freedom of information.
You know we are, and this is the beginning of the beginning. We don't know how it's going to play out. We know China is terrified. We may even see, I was at the Google Zeitgeist 5 years ago when I predicted it's not the overthrow of the U.S. I predicted a third party in the next 10 to 15 years. I think we're going to elect a third party candidate sometime in the next 10 years. I think we are so disgusted with Democrats and Republicans. I don't think it's going to be Trump.
I'm a Democrat.
I think it's going to be a non-crazy Ross Perot. It could have been Bloomberg if he were younger and hadn't served his third term.
You said social. You could go on and on about social when you just alluded to that, but.
I spent a lot of time with brands talking about.
My key question is: do you see people evolving their behavior to use their social graph to filter their world and to use that to accelerate decision making, both on the consumer and B2B side?
Somewhat, but we also, it was a great story in the New York Times Monday talking about FOMO. An acronym I hadn't heard about before. I knew the phenomenon, but FOMO, anyone know? Fear of missing out. Seems to be one of the biggest motivators for young people on social networking. Just the fear that something's happening and they don't know about it. So, but I do think for collaboration, for innovation, very much as well. I mean, we've always been bound by distance. We have always. The quicker we could communicate with somebody until digital, the more expensive it was. A FedEx was always more expensive than a letter, and a phone call was always more expensive than anything. Now we have the first technology that distance is irrelevant. Our cost has disappeared. The ability to collaborate, to share, now that can be done for people plotting terrorist attacks and predators for children, as much as it can be for people curing diseases. But it's all bets are off. So.
Can I get a Trojan V here? Trojan sign?
I love being at SC, but I'm not part of the athletic department. Any other questions I can answer? You guys are wonderful. But having this many people interested just makes what I do so much more enjoyable.
This is our world, this is fascinating.
Well, no, I mean the day I do one of these talks and nobody wants to ask a question, literally is the day I retire.
I really enjoy your show. It's great. I have just a quick question about current time when people are using game devices like Xbox, Sony, and so on. And having our main portal is Google, which has absolutely no design element. How do you think about that?
Say that one more time. You're talking about Xbox and
time of Xbox 3D, special effects, visual, stunning imagery.
But you said the time.
Time when we use Xbox, PlayStation, having very heavy 3D graphics, and when we have Google, which is just a standard HTML form to fill which look like a Unix command line to access data. How does look as a kind of...
I never thought about that much. I mean, I think...
It doesn't look a little bit out of time,
I mean,
somewhat. It's like pulling us back to 70s when everybody like a programmer typing in a
Yeah,
code.
no, I know what you... But, you know, Google came into dominance because, if you remember, most of us, it seemed to read our minds compared to Yahoo.
Yes.
Or it seemed to know exactly what we wanted. And I don't think it needs to be any more complex than that. But the one thing about Google, you know, you may be right, we'll see, is Google, as phenomenally successful as they've only been really successful in one area. One
Search
hugely.
ads. Search, yeah.
And they also
Ads.
believe they could be out of business in 3 months. And in theory they could, because the 15 of us could get together and we could create Schmoogle.
Right.
And
Or Blecko. I love Blecko.
Blecko, if you prefer. I like Schmoogle because it's Google Schmoogle. But we could create...
Blecko's real.
We could create... All right, well, then let me stick with Schmoogle.
Okay.
we could create Schmoogle, and we could send it to all of our friends, 15 of us, 1,500, 2,000, and all we'd have to say is try this. And if they were our friends, they would try it. And if Schmoogle were demonstrably better than Google, now that's a big if. That's not so easy. But if it were clearly better, the way Google was better than Yahoo, then who wouldn't take down Google and put up Schmoogle?
You know, it's just like...
Facebook risk
So
is-
in theory, it could be gone. Whereas I used to say to Microsoft, you guys could screw up for 10 years in a row, Vista, and you know your system, it would take 10 years to put you out of business. And of course, they figured out Windows 7, but once again, it's not so easy to create Schmoogle.
So what lifespan do you give
So
Google?
somebody, the long way around, I think Google does what people need it to do at the moment, but somebody who can create a better interface that better reads your mind, that gets you to where you want to be faster, will kill Google.
But wouldn't
If you do that.
the counter be,
Facebook
though?
Could be, because people are changing how they're making decisions because they're asking their friends which phone to buy. as
I
opposed
speak
to
every year at
search.
Google's Zeitgeist event. And every year until last year, you saw all the advertisers and newspaper guys nervous. Are they going to put us out of business? Do we have a future? Last Zeitgeist, I saw Google nervous. Because for the first time, they're looking at Facebook. A place where Google has no role. They can't search Facebook. There's no, and so what they
Marissa
now
Mayer
their
has been
fears are
monitoring
because
for a
they have no place in a Facebook world.
But to what extent do the
And they don't have the
browsers,
data.
if I may though, what extent do the browsers that are dedicated to Google, for example, if I use Safari, I do a search, it goes right to Google. To what extent does that actually prolong Google's lifespan?
Prolong, but you can strip that out in a matter of seconds.
Right, that's what I'm getting.
That's just.
But under what conditions would they strip it out, though? I mean, it's one thing to say it, but why would it happen?
A surprising number of people stripped it out and put Bing in. I mean, Bing's the first thing that has made some. But they strip it out when they get something they like better, and that's Google's fear. You know the great quote.
Sure.
It's almost as famous as the. I'm forgetting his name. The Wanamaker quote. The half my head.
Right.
But you know the great quote was 12 years ago. You guys know this quote. Bill Gates was asked, who keeps you awake at night? AOL, News Corp, and he said, I don't worry about those guys. It's the two guys in a garage in the Silicon Valley, who, of course, he didn't know were Larry and Sergey. and Larry and Sergey the funny thing is they've now taken that garage and they've made a museum out of it.
Right.
They took the Bill Hewlett, David Packard garage, and Larry and Sergey know there are more kids in a garage.
So no fear.
AOL Phoenix is much better product than Gmail. Okay, so there's always going to be change. We email marketers are testing it right now, so who knows? It's always there. Right?
Anything else? So we have a party
Yeah,
we can all
tell
go
people
to.
how they can find you for my video. So, because I'm just going to
People
go
can
up
find.
tonight.
Well, they can't find me personally.
Well, you know.
I don't like being stalked. But they can go to our website, which is just digitalcenter.org, and look at our reports. Incidentally, we have a policy. Don't be offended if you go to our site. We have a policy. We do lots of pro bono for universities and schools and journalists and private citizens and mothers and fathers, but we think multi-billion-dollar companies should pay. So we charge for all of our stuff to companies. If you go to our site and you'd like something, just send us a note and say, it's for my private use. You have to agree you're not going to share it with, and we'll give it to you. So we don't want to make money off of anybody except the Googles, Microsofts, Intels, and Facebooks of the world.
So
yeah,
you said-
2 years ago we might have given it to Facebook. Not anymore.
Not anymore.
But we don't charge citizens. We do charge companies.
You gave Facebook a 5-year lifespan, or
I said
5
5 years
To
till
big
it begins
changes,
to
right,
experience,
fragmentation.
till it goes through its menopause.
What would you do? You have any thoughts
I like that.
on a definitive number for Google? I mean, a lot of
No,
people.
Google could last for 50 years, or as I said a minute ago, could be gone
In 3 months.
In 3 months. So it just Google. You need to know that's not a nightclub effect. That's simply who's creating better technology. So Google might last.
That 3 months
forever.
quote, that's a compelling headline. I think I'll use it.
I'm not the first person, though. I mean, I've talked about that, but a lot of people, they themselves know that it could be gone. And I did make the point, I'm not covering my tracks, it's not so easy to create schmoogle. It's a lot easier to say it than to do it.
The kill switch is probably one of the most dangerous things to shut off.
The kill switch that we saw in Egypt?
No, I mean, yeah, this
Anywhere.
happened right here in this country. The president could do a kill switch
Well,
tonight.
from everything I read and learned, and I have friends at State Department, that even the Silicon Valley didn't know that you could kill the internet like that, the way the Egyptians did, because the Iranians couldn't.
Obama should sign an executive order. He'd make himself do a kill switch.
Yeah, there is.
I haven't been following that as closely as I should.
That was at least in the news that there is a kill switch.
But we know if you've watched what's happened in the last month in China, it's pretty worrisome. People disappearing, people doing searches, and people coming to their door. And the Chinese evidently are terrified that what has happened in Egypt and Tunisia and Libya could happen there.
Especially when you have that many people.
Yeah, but they've also done a pretty amazing job of lifting a lot of those people. I don't know, so we'll see. Thank you. It's been